This is the WQA podcast from the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the water treatment industry. And hello, I'm your host, Wes Bleed.
Essentially, the boot camp is more of a workshop style than just coming in and jumping from session to session. And that's why we have it, the day before, so they do have that time together, not only with the speakers, but with one another.
That's Candice Wentling, one of the speakers at the WQA Business Boot Camp, which takes place one day before the WQA Convention and Exposition opens in Orlando on March 4th. And welcome to the weekly podcast of the Water Quality Association, where we promote better water quality around the world. If you're a first-time listener or new to the industry, welcome. We're glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a show. Also, be sure to share it with a friend or colleague. And if you have not yet checked out our YouTube channel, we feature the podcasts as video as well, so you can see our guests live and in color. And you just go on over to youtube.com/@WaterQualityAssociationVideos to check us out. And in this episode, we're joined by Candice Wentling of Certified Action, known to many in the water space for her management and sales consulting. She talks about why we need a business boot camp, the topics to be covered during the day-long session, and why you need to attend. And we'll have our WQA tip. And now on to Candice Wentling on the WQA podcast. Hey, we're glad to have Candice Wentling back on the podcast. Candice is the director of Certified Action, a consulting firm in the water treatment business space. And Candice, welcome back. Glad to have you.
Hey, good to see you as well.
We're talking boot camp. You've been a boot camp speaker since way back with the very first boot camp that we had, I think 2017 maybe. And maybe we should begin by, why do we need a WQA Business Boot Camp for our water treatment dealers?
Oh, of course, you start with a hard one right off the get-go. You make it sound like it's so old, by the way, too. Goodness gracious. Boot camp was one. I came from several different people that kind of got feedback from, the business sessions at WQA. I think the biggest feedback of what bred boot camp was essentially most of the sessions are an hour or less. Right. So it's more motivational, informational, but what we found was it was difficult for people to get everything that they needed in those shortest sessions. And so we found a need that dealers were really needing a longer amount of time to dig deep on specific topics with professionals or people who have walked the path ahead of them that could kind of give them that insight on things and spend more time with them to achieve those things. So essentially, the boot camp is more of a workshop style than just coming in and jumping from session to session. And that's why we have it, the day before, so they do have that time together, not only with the speakers, but with one another. I think the cool thing about our industry is the networking aspect. And that is on surveys, one of the number one reasons that people do come to boot camp is that camaraderie and the networking aspect and meeting new people.
Well, each year has its own little flavor or focus. What's the focus this year?
It does. So several years ago, we kind of built a rotation. That way, while we think it is applicable for anybody to come every year, we also realize that, hey, there might be other people in the organization that might be more suited for the different topics, or different things might apply to different people. So we wanted to make sure we didn't box ourselves in and keep it redundant every year. We do a 3-year rotation. The first year, I guess it's not the first year. This year, we are doing leadership, human resources focus. The other 2 years are operations and sales, and then marketing and finance. So last year it was a more focus on the marketing and finance, and now we have looped around back to leadership and human resources. That'll be the key focus this year.
Yeah, and we talked to one of the presenters in a previous podcast, John Fraze, who's a HR consultant. And if you're watching or listening to this and you want to go back and catch that, that's an earlier podcast from our series of podcasts on boot camp and convention, wqa.org/bootcamp for more information on boot camp, by the way. And Candice, so let's talk about this year and the HR and leadership focus. What can we expect? And why? Maybe before we talk about that, let me just back up a bit. And what are some of the challenges that you think our dealers are facing? What they're talking about, and just simply running a water treatment business these days.
Yeah. When it comes to leadership in HR, what I've seen and what I hear from a lot of my other colleagues is it's people. A lot of the dealer owners and dealer GMs, they have so much experience as it relates to water treatment, the entrepreneurship nature, if that makes sense. But the part of leadership does not come nearly as naturally. Some people are very handy, some people can learn quickly on the technical aspects. But I think there is a real struggle when you grow your business and you need more and more staff to support the business. So, where we see that need across the board is just improving those leadership qualities, getting, if I were to put it three ways, it's getting people, right? It's keeping people and getting people productive. So that is a lot on a leader's shoulders to kind of take on altogether.
Yeah, it's almost like a good news, bad news story. Hey, the good news is you're growing. Your business is growing. It's you're more business, more volume, more service. The bad news is you got to get more people involved, and you got to hire more people, and you got to do more things on the back end to make sure it all works.
Yep, and then you have to make sure that they have everything that they need. So it is a very, I remember when my first leadership position, and I just thought that people would just do what I said. I thought that they would just do their job and everything would go swimmingly. And I learned very, very quickly that that is not the case.
And then back to boot camp and the agenda and what the day is going to look like. I mentioned John Fraze. He's actually one of the presenters, and he'll be in the afternoon talking about recruitment and retention. What's the morning looking like?
So the morning is going to be fun. We are going to have Lupe Ledesma from Culligan Southwest. He oversees several of their locations in South Texas. His primary responsibility is he oversees mid-level leaders. So his perspective is going to bring how do I lead other leaders to be good leaders for their field staff, right? And then Ashley Green from Eco Water in Arizona is a general manager out there. She will be bringing that perspective of dealing with multiple kinds of field level employees, from office to technicians in the field to salespeople. So we're kind of bringing it around, and then I will be facilitating that with them, and we will just have a conversation around a multitude of things, and that'll be the morning.
I can just see somebody, again, watching or listening to this and going, check, check, check. That's exactly what I need. And
Right.
I would think that they will not walk away disappointed.
No, and really, whenever I'm tasked with leading sessions like this, I really try to think of things uh, that are not only applicable, but what can I do tomorrow? A lot of trainings will give you like insight to things or like how to's, but what I really like to focus in on is how can I utilize ideas and make good choices without having to memorize the how to's. I think the how to's are helpful, but I think if we can understand leadership more from talking to other people or real life examples or maybe mistakes that other leaders have made, then those things can become more front of mind and we can be able to make decisions a lot better or not make decisions when they're not needed as well. So our goal is to really have a very candid conversation in just meeting with them. Some of the hard questions I've asked is, what are some of the things that you failed at? What did you get wrong? What did you have to learn? What has been the biggest thing that has changed things for you? What is the number one thing that has helped you facilitate performance in your dealership? So really getting down to the nitty gritty of things instead of just a whole slew of how-tos.
Well, and I think you touched on this earlier, but it's not just sitting in your seat and watching somebody present. The attendees are at tables and there's discussion, and you're getting to know some of the other people in the industry who are going through the very same things that you are. Is that not correct?
Oh my gosh, it's huge. And when we were looking at how we wanted to do this, we were really looking at people. We wanted people that did the job and are still doing the job,
Yeah.
right? And that have a little bit of tenure in it. So I have that experience, so I'll be involved in that conversation as well. And Ashley and Lupe just bring not only the traditional aspect but fresh aspects as well. So I think they'll also help bridge some cultural things. One of those being one of the things that we hear a lot is, well, when I came into the business, this is what I had to do, and I just had to do it, right? Whereas what we hear now is they just are frustrated with the workforce in a lot of ways. And so we want to talk about that as well from that cultural standpoint, but also it's really about being effective. Sometimes I think we focus so much on why we have to do something. And I think what we need to focus on is, well, what works? If we really get what we're asking and what we desire, does it really matter if we have to do things a little bit differently?
Yeah, and I mean, what do you expect if you keep doing the old things? How can you meet the new challenges, right? So this is a little bit of motivation. It's education. It's inspiration. It has all of that wrapped up together in one full day. It's action packed. It's information packed, and yet at the same time, I think it's fair to say that if you take one, two, or three things away from it, I mean, it's the value is really limitless.
I love how you put that. If you took one or two things that change something in your business, it pays you back tenfold. We don't have to focus on 20 different things. If one or two things changes the course of something or changes how you might interact or maybe sets you on the right foot with your next hire, I mean, those are huge wins.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, Candice, March 4th, one day before the WQA convention begins. That's the WQA Business Boot Camp, one of our pre-convention programs that we're offering. And, talk to the person who's never been, the person who's maybe a little on the fence, and the person who is even still maybe deciding to come to convention at all. What can you help in terms of bringing that person across the finish line and registering?
That's a hefty responsibility, Wes. What I would say to you is everything that we deal with in our business ties back to people in some way, shape, or form. From our staff to our customers to our vendors to ourselves to our industry colleagues to our competitors. Like, if you don't know how to deal with people, you're going to really, really struggle in this business. So, whether you're new or are tenured or a legacy dealer, I don't think any of that matters. I think coming in and just getting a refreshing or a reset, however you want to look at it, just to focus on leadership and its effectiveness, I don't see how you can lose on that. I mean, people are your most important asset. Without them, nothing else really falls into place. So again, you're only looking for those couple things that will make a difference, or maybe hear something that you never thought of for, or like you said, maybe that inspiration. Sometimes when we've been doing this a long time, we need to get back to the fulfillment piece. So I think as much as I love the marketing and I love the sales and we love all the operations and we love all the things that bring in the money, I think taking that moment and coming in and seeing me on an early, one extra day, I don't see how you can lose on that, and prove me wrong and come out and let me know.
And if you're in Florida, you could probably just drive in for the session and be a part of that. So if you're a Florida member, by all means, mark that on your calendar, March 4th. Plan to be with us. And if you've already registered for convention and you're now hearing this and thinking, "Me, oh, I missed registering for boot camp. I guess I just missed it." No, you can go back to the registration page. You can still register for the WQA Business Boot Camp. Hey, Candice, great to have you on the program. Thanks for your insights and inspiration.
And I think new members reach out to membership because I think there's benefits there as well. So definitely look into it or call or
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Wes.
Our WQA tip, a reminder that along with boot camp, we also feature 2 other programs on March 4th, again, a day before the convention begins. It's the WQRF Symposium and the RO Sizing Workshop. Separate registrations apply for all of these. So, if you have not yet registered for convention or for these pre-convention sessions, you need to do that ASAP. What are you waiting for? Go to wqa.org/convention to learn more and get signed up. And we will see you in Orlando. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the WQA Podcast, a presentation of the Water Quality Association, the leading voice of the water treatment industry. Learn more about WQA product certification, professional certification, and how you can become a member at WQA.org. This is Wes Bleed. So long from the Water Quality Association.